Yo, what's up, everybody? Coming up, I talked to the also Willie over in Perth. We're going to talk about round 7 of the Super Rugby Pacific, and we're going to break down and talk about the Moana Pacifica versus Crusaders game down in Christchurch on Saturday. And wow, what a win by Moana, beating Crusaders down there. It was a big upset. Probably the biggest upset of whole of Super Rugby history. The biggest upset for sure for Moana Pacifica to go down to championship team like the Crusaders and take a win from from them and win well. 45-29, yes. So, yep. Talk to the Willie. We're going to break down the game and we break down other games in Super Rugby Pacific and just little bits of news that we've heard around the world. Ma'anono being the oldest player to play in the top 14, and thoughts on Israel Folau getting rejected to play for the Wallabies again. This episode of the Cam SCHUSTER podcast is brought to you by the WesWes Network. It's also brought to you by WesWesNet.com. Check out the WesWes Network on all our socials. X, we're on TikTok, we're on our YouTube channel, and Instagram and Facebook. So check us out there. Check out our website too for our blogs and links to the rest of our podcasts. I dropped another Empty Out the Clip podcast. You can find that out now on Spotify and YouTube. And me and Eric, we did another episode of our Channel 135 podcast. That's a podcast where we talk about TV shows and movies. Right now we're reviewing each episode of the Daredevil Born Again TV series that's on Disney Plus. You can check out the reviews on the Channel 135 podcast. Alright. Just got that topic today. Just talking to Willie today, and there's nothing else going on. But yeah, hour of our Super Rugby Pacific breakdown. Alright. Let's roll the intro. Let's go. Alright, and we're back, and I'm here with also Willie again from the Western Australia, straight out of Perth. What's up, also?
How's it all going up here?
Man, you know how I said last week, talked about the weather? I said it was pretty warm. It was pretty cold in the mornings, but then it warms up. Still like that, eh? We're in April.
Gosh.
So, I don't know if it's climate change or global warming or anything like that, but man, we're having a long summer over here.
Yeah, we've been getting some real hot days too during the week, eh? But that's not surprising with the way the weather is here. And you're right, probably is something to do with climate changes. But
yeah, because on the east coast of your country, of Australia, it's been stormy, eh? Like you had the hurricane up there in Brisbane.
Yeah, they've had massive weather warnings up there. So look, I think family saying that, and friends were saying that there's some flooding happening and all of that, and then further up north, and like in North Queensland, that's where it was just it was pretty bad up there, right?
Yeah, for sure.
All safe and all of that.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you're watching NRL, but a lot of those games happening, especially in Sydney, just wet weather games, eh? Right now the Warriors are playing the West Tigers, and it's wet weather there.
Yeah, but it's funny you say that, because there was I was just listening on the radio here yesterday, I think, and they were talking about like the AFL was talking about how they're organising these games up in the North Queensland, and the weather is it's bad, man. Like it's like in the afternoon, and they're sweating. To talk about humidity is like 100%. And they reckon that some of the guys, there's a team that played, I think guys from Brisbane Lions, who they played a game up there, and they suffered heat stroke a week after the game had finished.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then we hear. But then honestly, also, and I say this with because they're talking about there needs to be planned better, and the health and safety people need to be involved. I would say, man, none of those guys would complain if they had to work 2 weeks up in the Pilbara where I was working in the 45-degree heat, and you're out there with all your PPE gear, your long sleeve, man. Nobody will complain about playing in that type of weather. You're only out there for like an hour and an hour 40 minutes.
Yeah, even places like up in Townsville, well, where the
Yeah,
North Queensland Cowboys, when they train, I heard they like train early hours in the morning because it's cooler.
yeah, yeah. You have to.
Yeah, you have
Yeah,
to.
yeah.
You can't do it
Yeah,
like midday, or you gotta wait. To,
midday when the sun's gonna sussa you, man.
yeah, man. So it's sort of like if you're training up there, that kind of climate, maybe you'll be a different sort of player, right? Like
Yep.
used to those extreme weathers,
You
eh?
with it. Yeah, hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's you look at the Pacific Islanders, and again, all the poly players, because they're that type of weather we see in the likes of Samoa, Fiji, and Tonga. Like it's you get real the humidity is very similar. And then you get those rainy seasons that just sort of rains, and and then when the heat comes, man, it's out of it. So yeah,
Yeah, it's a major reason why Fiji Drua, when they play over in Fiji, like they build a fortress there because teams have to adjust and teams go over
yeah,
there and have to play them in that heat.
you can't adjust in 1 week, man.
Yeah, yeah,
You know, so. I was surprised that there were so many. There was 3 teams with the bye, eh?
yeah. I mean, there were only 4 games this weekend,
Yeah,
so there's 3 teams with byes. So yeah, I think each team has 2 byes this season. So the Blues had their first bye this week. That's why I never saw them. They're sort of licking their wounds from last week. But yeah, man, that climate, the different climate. It's cool that we have teams that come from different climates, because you get that home advantage, with your Fiji Drua,
yeah,
or if you're like up in North Queensland, like if you're the Queensland Reds, like the different climate there. Plus you got the Fortress of Suncorp over there. But it reminds me of the NFL. In America, the NFL,
yeah,
like you got 2 extremes. Like you got playing in the snow, like
yeah.
the Buffalo Bills. Their home grounds is where the snow is, or
But do they
Green Bay
still play?
Packers. Yeah, they still play. So these are teams that
Crazy.
yeah, because it's a winter sport and it's snowing up there. These teams are used to playing in that winter sport. So if your team like Miami Dolphins, where it's hot,
Yeah,
and you have to fly up to to Buffalo to play the Bills and it's snowing, there's big disadvantages and advantages there for these
yeah.
2 teams, kind of teams.
There's-
Two sort of extremes, when it comes to
those field sports. Yeah, no,
To
it's
play.
true though.
yeah. But
Well, I guess that's probably what the Crusaders could be if they were playing in the winter, eh? Like when it's cold down there, it's cold, man. The same with Otago.
yeah, that's right. And plus,
Guess it just
because Super Rugby always gets pushed further back towards the beginning of the year. Like, it was only a few years they've been playing, and they start in February when it's hot still in February. So if you think of the rugby season as a whole, from
yeah,
February all the way to November, that's pretty much the whole year, right? You got
harder,
December,
yeah.
January off, 2 months off.
Yeah,
But no, man. Yeah, so Super Rugby Pacific Round 7 happened, and I think we're in the halfway point of the year now. So we've got 9 more weeks to go. 7, 8 next week, yeah. Then not 9 more weeks. Oh, 8 more weeks. So, man, we'll talk about the big game that happened between Moana and Crusaders. But I just want to look at the table for a sec here. So, surprisingly enough, we got the Queensland Reds up at number 1. And you sort of asked the question, how did they get up there? Like, is this because of how the structure of the point system works in Super Rugby, where you get a bonus point for how many tries you score? Certain tries you have to get over, like 4 tries, I think it is, 4 tries, and then if you lose but are within 7 points, then you get another bonus point.
yeah.
So yeah, they've got the same record. Reds have the same record as the Chiefs. So Chiefs coming in at number 2, Reds coming in at number 1. Both have 1 loss, but between them.
Oh, so they've both got they've both had a loss each, eh?
They both had a loss each, yeah.
Oh, that's right.
But
The
the
Chiefs
Reds
lost to the draw.
Yeah. And I forgot who the Reds lost to. Oh, they came down here and lost there. Oh, they lost to Crusaders. So, but I think they would have gained a bonus point in that game, one of those games. So they got 23 points. Chiefs got 22 points. Yeah, man. How you seen the Reds at the moment?
Yeah, I watched that game against the Force, and that was a pretty tough game because that was a local derby, and both teams needed to win. From what I've been hearing in the news.
28-24, so it's a close game.
Yeah, man. Like the Reds are a good team. They're actually a really good. They're well drilled. But I don't know if you know, or if you do get a chance to have a look at it. I looked at the referees, and the referee in the the Reds and Force game, like he didn't have to do much running. He didn't even look that tired, man. And then you look at the Crusaders and the Moana Pacifica ref, man, he was running. He was everywhere, man. The different speeds of the game, bro. Like, yeah, no, that's what cracked me up. But the Reds to come away with that win, they did really well. I think they both of the games that when they've played each other have both gone down to the right to the end. Right to the last few minutes. I think it was the last 5 minutes, 5 or 7 minutes where the Reds scored. To get ahead from the Force.
I'm looking at the stats in the game sheet. So the Red actually had 2 yellow cards. So yeah. Alex Hodgman, he went off with a yellow, and then there was another yellow card with
but he got his yellow Bryant. Card was a bit his yellow card was a bit a bit of an odd one because I don't think he got the he called him for pulling the ruck down when he actually he got the right person. It was just that he attacked the lifter. He attacked the lifter too early. But it was the commentary team that sort of got it wrong. But they played well. The Reds, man, to come back and sort of take that win off the Force. The Force will be licking their wounds, or they'll be just one of those games that's got away from them again.
Yeah, one of the Forces guys, I always hear his name come up on the radio all week, is Carlos Tizano.
Tizano, yeah.
Like he's the man for them, eh?
He's leading the loose forwards, I think, in tries. So he's a local product. He's a local boy from Perth.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, come through the academy system and done really well, I think. And then he spent some time over at in the Waratah setup, and
right.
Sort of an understudy there to Michael Hooper before he went to Japan and that. But now he's come back. He's been really good he's kind of in the same mold as like Pocock,
right?
Low to the ground and really good over the ball, and
does he turn over like Pocock?
Yeah, man. Like he's pretty solid over the ball, eh? Like, I think he's really. I wouldn't probably say not as good as Pocock yet, but like the signs are there of him being a really good player, and I think him and Fraser McWright will be battling it out for the Wallabies 7.
Right. Yeah, you're right about the ref not doing much, because when I look at the meters gained from all these players and both Reds and Western Force, they don't go over 100. No one goes over 100 meters. The highest meter run is from 2 guys in their backs, Tim Ryan and the fullback for Western Force.
And that
71 meters. Each.
That was probably because he ran from one side to the other side of the field, not forward.
Yeah, man. So I'll probably compare these stats to what happened in the Crusader game, because these are low running stats for everybody in this game.
Yeah.
So which tells me a lot of defense going on, hard to break the line.
Nah, No, it's just it's the Australian way of how they play, man. They're very structured. Like
So boring.
yeah, pretty much, man.
Yeah.
Like they go from ruck to ruck, ruck to ruck, and then if it's not a ruck, then it's a scrum or it's a line out. So it's set plays, and that's how they're coached. Like they do all these, yeah, again, man, like we do all these coaching frameworks where they frame every picture, like they're framing a picture of how what's going to happen. So they go through that during the game as how they coach,
Mm.
and it's almost like they get their own ability to play the game removed out of them, and then when you see them do something like do a really good pass or pocket pass or flick the ball like that, and then all of a sudden they say it's the greatest thing that they've done. It's like the skill, but and then you go out to come out to Ranui Starling Park, and there's 50 people doing the same skill sets. Like man. So yeah, it's not so. I don't. It's more so around. I think it's more so around just how they play and how they coach. They're structured.
Yeah.
Overly structured, to be honest.
Yeah, that's interesting because as a coach, like you see it all the time every week when you coach the girls over there. But that sort of structured play and how the Australians are really good at it, they try to do the basics real well,
Yeah.
not try to be too flashy, and that's got to be something that coaches find. They find like a welcome, because there's no sort of funny business and all of that. Like if I imagine Joe Smith. Like he's that
Yeah.
sort of guy that would want to get the basics right and have his players to just do the small things right
Because he's
first. And
sorry.
yeah, he would be the kind of coach to agree with getting these small things right and let the flashy stuff not be forced, but just come if it happens, if it happens. But
Yeah.
that's not the priority here, right? It's not entertaining. It's winning rugby rather than entertaining rugby. Huh.
Yeah. No, I agree, but also to add on to that is that because Joe Smith's he's the type of coach that can just look in like from at how he's coached Ireland to where they were or to where they've been. It's structured like that. It's like how Australia sort of similar to how Australian rugby is. Um, but they don't. The hardest thing for them because a lot of them, it's they second guess their own ability to actually play what's in front of them and stuff like that, and that's why like when you add, and that's what the difference is when you look at the Ireland team. You add a James Lowe, a Bundy Archie, the Jamison Park Gibson. You add those types of players that can really they add their own flavour into what's already there,
Mm.
and you see them, and you hear the commentators talk about it like, oh, man, what an awesome kick from James Lowe. And it's like, man, again, like I said, you go to Starling Park or Pass Park, there's 50 people doing the same kick, like that just comes naturally. But, that stuff that, guys like great James Lowe and they has growing up doing as a kid, at the local park or in the backyard or just in how they're coached is to be able to, if you want to attack, you attack, but then have the mindset to be able to then retain. And that's where Joe Smith, well, like we said, he'll be detailed.
Mm.
And those little, if you get those right, those little small things right, then, yeah, as you said, everything else happens. It'll take care of itself. And yeah, it's yeah, some of the Aussies, like to be honest, yeah, when I watch some of the Aussie teams, like the Waratahs when they played the Hurricanes, man, like they scored one try and then they celebrate again. They celebrate like they've won.
Yeah.
So, man, it was only the first 5 or 10 minutes, I think they scored the try. And they're jumping up and down like it's that was the last try to win the game. But it's a different mindset.
Because when I think about the Wallabies, like when the era when Stephen Larkham was playing, like he had X factor all over the place when it came to the Wallabies. Their backs were strong, and and their loose forwards were always strong too. And we never really got that for the Wallabies in a few years after those guys retired. Like
Yeah.
when Australia wasn't doing too well, you never. I don't think we had any X factor players. You had one or two. You had Pocock there, but it wasn't enough. The backline was dry. There was not many people standing up to anything. But no, it's good to see that the Wallabies are coming up, and they're still doing the whole dip their hand into the NRL, try to grab some players.
Yeah.
Because Stuart Lee, he came back. So he came back. They started him at centre for the Waratahs when they came down to play the Hurricanes.
Well, yeah.
How'd you find that game?
Oh, I only watched probably the highlights of it, but just reading some of the commentary on it, it's like, and then watching him run with the ball, he's going to find that the space that he's used to is not going to be there anymore. Those volley boys that are playing for the other teams, man, they're going to go out and prove they're just as good. I think the thing with Swahili is the Australia sort of waiting for that one person to sort of ignite interest to do something to get Aussie the Wallabies back on the map. But he's a good player. I've got no doubt he can really change it. But I don't think one bloke's going to be able to fix the issues that they have. Whether it's on or off the field.
Did you find an explanation what they say what they did when they put him in at centre coming off fullback? Because I thought that because he missed 5 games, he missed 5 weeks, he got the injury late in that game 1. He still trained last week. He was able to play last week, but they thought they'll just give him another rest. Instead of putting him at fullback, they put him back at in centre. Is that a way for him to ease back in?
Oh no, I don't think it. Yeah, it depends on the coaches. Like that coach at the Waratahs, he's a pretty solid coach too. Like he's a former Brumbies coach as well. I just think it's Swahili would have wanted to play anyway at centre. Like I think once he gets his bearing right and a better understanding of the game at that level, because the last time he played 15s, he was at school. So, playing against other schools and playing in an international environment or Super Rugby environment are two different things,
Yeah.
So, but, I don't think it was probably just the coach's call, and probably both actually, both would have agreed, start at centre. Like he didn't go too bad, but, just the other guy from the Hurricanes, he was just as good.
They had Peter Umaga Jensen now.
Yeah.
And
but
Brandon
also
Summerlin.
O'Sullivan, he was awesome. But not just O'Sullivan, I think Kini Nahoto played well. He played really well. Their whole backline, Ruben Love, the forwards, I mean, Yossi played really well as well. He was playing at 6.
I saw did you see in the paper, like in the news, how Israel Folau, he tried to ask to come back and he got rejected. Man, I would have thought they'll let him in. He's had his time done, but I guess what he said is still sore amongst the sponsors there.
Because it cost rugby millions.
Yeah.
Cost Rugby Australia millions to compensate him for the way that they treated him. You think they're going to let another blackie come in and say it's all been forgiven? Hell no, man. These guys are not going to do that. Just stay in your box, mate.
So I think the chapter on that is over for that guy.
Yeah.
But man, another guy I want to talk about that it's not part of this, but Moana Nonu. He was on the paper today, news, the oldest player to play in the top 14 over in France. So he's 42 years old. Still going strong, that guy. What the hell, man? The guy knows how to retire or what?
I just think Moana knows You know, Ma's one of these guys. You know, he loves the game,
Mm.
and if he keeps his body and look after his body well, and you know, he can still play, and why not? You know, it just depends on when enough is enough. You know,
It's
that's
not only
that's
him,
the
Because he came down to France, but he left that team in San Diego with, I think Matt Cateau was there too. So Matt Cateau is still going hard, He's still playing.
he, that team that he signed up. He was only there as his training partner. You know, just like a joker, I think, was what they call it. And he was there to sort of support the Toulon backline team, and the president turned around and said, "Oh, look like you'll be able to still play," so signed him up until the end of the season, bro.
May as well.
You know, and he's got that business as he's a part owner of that MLR team, eh?
Oh, is he? Oh, okay. Oh,
Yeah.
the San Diego one. The one he
Yeah.
played for. Mm.
Yeah, I think so. So they made him part owner and stuff. So yeah, no, good on him. Good on him. You know, why not?
Yeah, if
You know,
you still got
like
it, keep on going,
Man, I would if I was that age. Well, I would if I was that fit. Sorry, you know, I'm past that age, but I wish I was. You know, so
Yeah. Did you catch the Hurricanes? The Highlanders Brumbies?
now briefly, I just watched a bit of that and a bit of it. Yeah, that was a bit of a tough one for the Highlanders, eh?
See, Caleb Tangentel scored 2 tries. Man, that guy's scoring tries every game, man.
Man, he's awesome, man. He is awesome. Like I tell you, bro. Like he would, you know, that's another player that the Blues let go.
Yeah, but to
You
be
know?
honest, he can't take over Talia and he can't take over Clark. And if they move
Why-
Clark to midfield and they put
Why not?
Rico in the wing, he can't get past those guys.
Because, like, why wouldn't you? Like, he's the informed winger at the moment in the comp. He's one of the informed wingers at the moment. Like, he can make things happen, but he can also finish. You know, like, why would you not have somebody like that? He'd come from the sevens program.
Mm.
You know, like, why would you not have somebody like that in your books? You know, like Mark Talia he's good. You know, but like, what's his name? What's the kid's name? Caleb Tangital. Like, he can defend too, just as much as he can attack, man. You know, so I don't know why they would have let him go. Like, there must be seriously somebody better than him in on the bench up at the Blues.
Yeah, I miss these sort of wingers, that just got speed.
Yeah,
Like the guys that come out at the sevens, they're worthwhile,
but,
But you know, guys in the past like Lome Fatel, like you know, they can fly, They can fly on the wing and just beat their
well,
man.
you
know,
you just look at that Brumbies winger, Tool.
He's pretty
Man,
quick.
He's from sevens. Also, Australia sevens. He's from also the ones. Who was the other ones from Matavao? You know, the Tuitama for the Moana. There's another one. Yeah, there's some quality sevens players in there, man. Like, yeah, I like what Jamie Joseph is doing with that the Highlanders team, bro.
Yeah,
Like I said, man, New Zealand rugby would be stupid not to sign him up.
oh, definitely. Yeah, man. Then we come to the game of the week. It could be the game of the whole comp.
Yeah.
Like, who would ever thought that Moana Pacifica will go down to Christchurch, play Crusaders, and win and come away with a win, but come away with a win well. They smoked them. Man, 45-29. And it was the halftime, they were up by 17 points. So I did a bit of a research thing. So it wasn't if the Crusaders were to come back and they had every probably chance they're a team that could come back from that kind of deficit, 17 points. The actual record for a team to come back at halftime was 21 points. It was back in 2000 and I think it's 2000 was when South Africa was there. So it was the Lions versus the Melbourne Rebels. And at halftime, the Lions had 5 points and the Rebels had what, 26 or something.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
Yeah, and the second half, the Lions came back and won the game. So anyway, it wasn't meant to be. The Crusaders lost that game anyway, 29-45. But man, we've been talking about this all ever since we started doing the podcast on the season. You know, Moana's been slow starters. They've been terrible in the first half, and they always seem to come back in the second half, play better in the second half, and rack up some points. But their downfall has been the first half, right? The opposition team have put points on them, and it's hard for them to play catch-up rugby in the second half. They do outscore the opponents, but it's not enough, and they lose.
Yeah.
This is the first time that they had a good first half and the second half. I mean, they pretty
bro.
much dominated nearly the whole game. I think it was halftime. Moana was up. The Crusaders did a mini comeback. They scored 2 tries in succession, and I thought that, okay, they've got their chance now. They'll probably come back, but they didn't, because Moana scored the next 2 tries and won the game. They just put points ahead of them. I think they kicked a couple of penalties or penalty to get them up more, and they just came through at the end. But man, that was an awesome performance by Moana. I watched the game, and you could just feel the energy. And I was actually comparing them to the Blues, and there was a big difference. The attitude. We talked about the Blues' attitude last week, and it sucked. You know, they lost to the Crusaders, and they didn't look like a team with no identity. They didn't know what was going on. They weren't talking to each other and all that. This is a complete opposite of the Moana team. When you saw the energy was high, you know, they're all around their captain. Adi Sevilla was inspirational for the guys, and he has been inspirational all year. The games Adi was out, those guys took over and sort of jumped on his back, even though he wasn't playing. But this is the game when he's back, right? Adi's back, and you can see what his inspiration has done to the boys, and that's why I felt. I mean, how did you feel about the performance?
Man, they played a proper 80-minute game. You know, like you said, like that was the first game, you know, like in the Chiefs game where they played down in Pukekohe, they came back in the second half. But then that last week's game showed what they can actually do. You know, like I took down some stuff, you know, I think there was made some notes on that game, like that Pellegrini, bro. You know, he's you know, like every team can't function without a 9 and a 10. You know, you got to have a really good combination there and there's trust. You know, to have trust within Pellegrini and that Tamitine. They had really good cohesion, man. They were on song with what they were doing, and then I was just sort of looked at like they were patient in their tries. They were actually, you know, they were really patient, man. Like some of their tries came off like 9 phases, 10 phases. You know, more last year, you know, they after 5 phases they would have knocked the ball on. But you know, this time around, you know, like they're a total of 9 phases, and they were just relentless. You know, and I felt they did what Moana Pasifika did yesterday was what to the Crusaders was what the Crusaders did to the Blues last week. Man, the wrong thing the Crusaders did was that they played into Moana's hands. Like they should have ran the ball, bro. You know, like they should have used their skills and like they had. Like you go watch the game if you get a chance to watch the game again or that, and you see a lot of their pod set up, their pod system would set up and their structure, and then they would always take they would tip it to the support player that's on their right rather than to the pocket, which is normally the fourth player behind that structure that they normally have, you know, because the defense would be coming in, and you would have seen, it was just the option taking too from the Crusaders, which is what lacked for them. Like There were times when they should have gone the back, where they went to the front, and it was just easy. It's easy meat for them, the Moana boys. Those poly boys, bro. They love the contact. That's playing into their hands. That's one thing that where the Crusaders really thought that they could come and just muscle them. I said, that was the wrong game plan to play against. A team like the Moana Pacifica who was there just eager to say, no, we can match you up front here, and you got to do something else. Yeah, we'll get nine phases. That shows patience and really good maturity by the halfback and the 9 and the 10. They really controlled it. That's it. And then when they were defending too, bro. Or when they defended, man, they were like, I wouldn't have wanted to be in some of those rucks, man. Like on their ball, when Moana was cleaning out on their ball, like, man, there was some intent in those cleanouts, man. Like there was, no, like I said, man, I wouldn't want to be in those cleanouts, bro. Like they were massive, and then even on defense, bro, when they were defending, there was no penalties given. Well, there were, but like they're far and few between. Like they were really patient in the way that they were defending, and I think that's what really, really, stood out for me. And they were like they fought all the way. Like it was about you make a tackle, get up, make another tackle. It was about getting off the ground as quick as you can, and that was the effort. That's what they would have been talking about. Like Artie was good, but I thought Justin Marshall really made him. I think his comment was bang on the money, man. He said it's not just about Artie, it was like everyone. Like Artie was the central figure in it, yes, but everybody stepped up. It wasn't just Artie, it was Toala and Patafilo. They were massive in the centres. Havili with his kicking, Pellegrini with his tactical play. They were just smart with the way they played. Their option taking was a lot smarter. But for me, they were just the better team. They were really the better team, man. No matter how the coach from the Moana from the Crusaders, sort of made a bit of a shit comment about it, but like, man, they deserved to win. Like honestly, like they did. They deserved their win, and I think Artie had made a really massive, a really good point from last week about talking about that poly flavour. I think that's going to be the new term that comes out. It's just, the poly flavour that these boys play and the way they play represents everyone. It's awesome, bro. I was genuinely supporting them, just with like I've said to you, like I don't the type of person I don't have a specific team. Yes, I'm Auckland born, and so I'm Auckland raised, and learnt my rugby, and so I still have a soft spot for Auckland in terms of the rugby and that. But I support a team that's playing good rugby games. And when you see a team like the Moana, like giving the 9-time champion, is it 7-8, 7-time champion, like not just beating them, like just giving them a right hiding, man. That was a hiding, bro. That was, that you can't fault the way they played, man.
I remember the post-game show. I watched a bit of it, and they were interviewing Rob Penny, the Crusaders coach. And man, I think that guy's days a number, because his decision making. When you see what the team is like, I think they rested a lot of players for this game. Yeah. They underestimated Moana. Like a lot of starters. I mean, who's the hooker for Crusaders? The All Black hooker.
Taylor.
Yeah, he came off the bench. Maybe he should have started. I know Silver Reese wasn't playing. A few other guys weren't in there. playing there. Like
Yeah.
they took them off because maybe they
Like,
thought they were easy win there. But
well, that's
that's what happens if
exactly
you
right.
underestimate, eh?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So I think that's exactly what he did, and I think that reflected in his comment in the post-match interview. You know, like he got a bit dirty, you know, with his comment, and it was pretty sad. Like I'll find the clip and I'll share it because it's a bit of a condescending comment made in the way that like, they weren't good enough. Like, man, you just got beat up by who you thought was the worst team in the comp. They're not.
Yeah.
You know, they took the Chiefs close. They've taken every team. Like, they haven't been easy wins. And that's a different Moana Pacifica team from last year. You know, that's a different team that and that just shows you the type of coaches that they had last year. Like Aaron Major was useless. I like Aaron Major as a player, man, but you know he didn't have an impact. He didn't really have an impact when he was with the Highlanders, and the same with who was he? The Filo Tiatia. In the way that those coaches, that Tana and his coaching team have got the Moana Pasifika, you know, like they're all singing off the same page, man. You know, you can't fault that. You know, you can't fault that. You can't do anything but respect what they're doing, and you know, I think it's a great thing for New Zealand. I think that team's going to be a good thing for New Zealand rugby, bro.
Yeah.
You know, like I think it's brought alive rugby in New Zealand. To be honest, you know, it's they brought something different, and I'd like to think that Alfred, the DJ Alfred, you know, will be playing at a lot of their home games because, you know, he'll hype that crowd up. You know, but yeah, I was pretty disappointed with those comments by Rod Penny though. Listen, you're right. You might be right. You know, days might be numbered. Who knows? Like they rested Cody Taylor, or they didn't rest him, but they benched him. Tamati Williams, and then they rested Christian Lio-Willie. Who else? Havili was out because of injury. So you know that changed it to go, but yeah, I think O'Connor played well, to be honest. O'Connor played well, but then I think they should have. Like he's better off coming off later when
Coming off the bench, yeah.
Teams are a bit tired and you know they're struggling around, and you would probably just how they were playing. It was just the option taking was poor. Yeah,
his kicks. He had a couple of inaccurate kicks as well.
Yeah,
didn't find some cases,
but I thought everything.
Pellegrini outshone him. I thought
he was awesome, man. He was really awesome. You know, like he's the difference. Like there's a point in like the way he manages the team and how he's got them going. I think, you know, man, I'm looking forward to next week's game, bro, or to this week's game for the Moana Pacifica. I'm gonna have to go buy me a jersey now, so I'll wear it.
He's got to try it too. Pellegrini, he's got to try.
Oh, same with Artie. Artie scored 2.
He scored 2 tries, yeah.
Yeah, you know, and I'm liking him. I love that Danny Tawala, man.
He had a good game too. He scored a try.
Yeah, but Pasifilo?
He played awesome. So, just looking at his stats, he had he played the full 80 minutes, 7 defenders beaten. He ran for 23 meters, 8 runs, 1 clean break. But his energy was awesome, eh?
Yeah.
He had awesome energy, and you saw it. And I think the players fed off that energy, and you do, eh? Like it's like a domino effect, huh?
Yep.
When players go in and man, they play hard, and others just go, they just follow through, eh?
Why do you think Penrith? You know, I know this is off topic, but that's why Penrith is so good, man. Because those poly boys, that's how they celebrate. You know, that's the vibe that they bring, and I think that's the value of just allowing the players to be themselves and play. And you know, you can push them down this way or guide them on how to with the game, how simple it can be, but just being yourselves too to express yourselves. Did you did you see the try that Pellegrini got, and you seen Danny Toala come in, and then he was just like slapping slapping the Pellegrini on the ass because I was just cracking up because that's the typical, that's how Island boys. That's how Island boys celebrate. That's something to talk about, but man, I think looking at that, my kids sort of don't understand that sort of humor,
Right. Yeah.
That's that island humor when you're amongst it, man. But that, man, I was genuinely like stoked and happy for the way that they played, man. Like to come out. But not just, they beat them they beat them up, bro. They literally they really beat them up, and I was really stoked with the way they played, and I look at you look at the Blues game where the Crusaders beat them up, and I just think, man, they just did everything, everything went right for them, like Miracle Whailangi, man, he was another standout. But it just goes to show the confidence that they have now, like with some of the stuff that Artie's doing, and it just, and it's lift the standard, and that's what I think we spoke about it a couple of weeks back. I think we spoke about it, how it's about standards, and he's maintained his standards and what's expected of him in the All Blacks. So it's not about him coming down here, it's about them coming up here, and to learn and to be consistent about it every, week in, week out, man. I think that's the biggest influence that Artie has had on those boys. I mean, it's infectious,
Yeah.
I think that it's a beautiful thing. But
I noticed on the stands, a few empty seats, so I figured, a lot of the Crusader fans thought it was going to be an easy game too. So, but man, I saw the lot of Moana supporters in the stands as well, and just cheering and stuff like that. And I was wondering if they were like their Crusader supporters, like just coming out, just leaving their Crusader jersey at home, and when they come out with the Samoan flags and Tongan flags and that, to support them.
You should have seen the interview with Havili and what's his name? Who's that guy from the Highlanders that does the interviews on the sideline?
Oh, Joe Wheeler.
Yeah, so here's the interview with Joe Wheeler, and he goes, "Man, I just seen your dad, and he had his Crusaders jumper on earlier. Now he's got his Moana Pasifika jersey on." He's just calling at the mum and dad on TV, bro. So that was cool. But there was like even Havili was fantastic, man. I was honestly,
that guy, he's been solid all year, eh? And it's sort of like building, because he's been in that team ever since it was first started there.
Yeah.
Like he's still in that team, and you can see his growth, sort of. Hey, you can see his growth.
Yeah, man, 100%.
Like, I think he had a good NPC year last year with Tasman. He played for Tasman.
Yeah.
And then, but he's turned into a solid player. Probably, I don't know if the All Blacks could pick him up if they wanted to, but there's so much talent out in the fullback anyway.
Tonga?
Yeah, but
he plays for Tonga.
Yeah, he played for Tonga, but All Blacks can find a way. If they like someone in this Moana team, they'll grab them. They'll tap them on the shoulder and say, "Oh, you know what? Come play for Hurricanes for 3 years, stand down period."
Like Tava Nawa.
Yeah, man.
What I'd like to see out of this, and what probably one thing I'd like to see out of this, then would be a Lions type of team. Like, you imagine now picking the best out of the Samoa Tonga team, out of that Moana Pacifica and the Drua. With the way that they already are now, it'll be another ball game altogether, man. You get some really good ballers in that game, man. That'll be a good one to have. Similar to the what's it they have it before?
Oh, the Pacific Islanders.
Yeah,
The one where Suivatsu was in.
yeah, and Shonela and Wax
Yeah.
was playing in.
Yeah.
You imagine pulling that team in together now with the coaching environment that they have now for the Moana Pasifika and the Drua. Like that. What's his name? Glenn Jackson for the Drua. He's good, bro. I like him. I like him as a coach. I like what he's doing with the Drua. But yeah, no, that was the same with Artie. With Moana Crusaders game. That was stoked with that game.
So this is why the Reds are at the top of the table, because if the Crusaders had won this game, they would be at the top of the table right now. And Chiefs would be second, and Reds would have been third.
Wow, that's interesting.
The Chiefs would have been third, and Reds would have been second, and Crusaders would have been first if they had won this game. So they lost that opportunity.
Shows how good this competition is now, isn't it?
Yeah, and that was the thing, for punters who are doing sports betting, like you wanna scratch your head thinking which team's gonna win when you go down that list of teams for your multi-game, man.
I think you probably know with the Aussie team. I think it's pretty easy to know with the Aussie teams at the moment.
So the next 3 games for Moana, they got Waratahs next week.
Is it Waratahs?
They got Waratahs playing at North Harbour Stadium.
Oh, okay.
And then after that, they've got the Blues, which, this is a good win for Moana because this puts them on this collision course with the Blues, who are doing the opposite. Blues only won 1 game out of 6 at the moment.
So Moana play with Waratahs next week?
Yeah. Yep.
That'll be a good game, eh?
Waratahs and then the Blues at Eden Park.
I'll tell you this now. The only one that's going to be the difference in that game is the ref.
Oh, the Waratahs.
It's the ref, yeah. That's going to be the biggest decision maker in that game, is going to be the ref and how he refs the game and how he sees who's playing good rugby or who's being negative.
Waratahs had a major injury. I think it was Jorgensen. I think he went out. He couldn't stand on his legs. It might have been Achilles injury. If it is, then he's gone for next year. But he looked bad. He wasn't standing on it. That's to help him along. So I guess that puts Suoli back in fullback then.
Yeah, well,
for that week.
He'll be probably better off at fullback at the moment, eh? I think but at fullback in Super Rugby, but I think at international rugby would be a good centre. Just because everyone will be doing their own job. It's just a different step up. When you play Super Rugby, it's hard because you're trying to cover the inside and the outside. Whereas it's about everybody doing their job. And when you're in internationals, and if you don't know your job in the internationals, you're not playing in the next game.
That next man up mentality, eh?
Yeah, hard, bro. That's how ruthless it's been now. That's how ruthless rugby is now. Eh? It's just, if you don't perform one game, man, see you later. 1 or 2, that's it.
I feel like Auckland Rugby doesn't adopt that. Like, if you're in the system for ages, they're loyal to you, even though there's guys better than you behind. But if you don't put the work in through history, coming up through the system, then they'll say, I'll go down to Christchurch or go down to Hamilton.
But look how many, when you look at the history of the Auckland Blues and how many that we've let go and come back to haunt. To haunt the Blues rugby, they've either come back and given a
good example is Wax. Good example there.
Yeah, there's Wax, Ron Crib, Flavel. Christian's gone down there. Who else has gone down there? So there's another one that's just gone down there recently. Is Xavier Saifoloi.
Yes.
I heard he was a gun. He was at the Chiefs. He was part of the Chiefs program. after Auckland didn't want him. So it's hard. It's hard. I don't know what you do there, though, Eves. There's so much. There's a lot to do there.
Speaking of the Blues, when Moana faced the Blues on the 12th of April, Saturday game, 4:30, Eden Park. I feel like this game is being earmarked, and now with Moana winning and the Blues losing, they're sort of on this collision course now. Who's going to be the king of the Auckland? This is like the new battle over the bridge.
Yeah. Who's going to own that bridge?
Who's going to own that bridge, North Harbour's part of Blues, so they need another one to challenge for the bridge, and it's Moana having their home over in North Harbour.
That's going
to be a game that the loser's going to be. It's going to be tough for the loser. Although I don't think it'll be tough for Moana because they're playing like they got nothing to lose, and they showed that with the Crusaders, and they are a team they're playing like nothing to lose, so they're having fun out there, and they're just playing hard. The Blues, if they lose this, that's a new level of low, I think.
Hard,
so
man. That's hard.
How does this game interest you?
What the Blues and man, that's that game is going to be the most. Well, it's going to be the most anticipated game because those guys that are on. Because a lot of those guys in the Moana team have been in and out, have been around and in and around the Blues system. In their younger days, so, the second one is the supporters, like you look at the fan base, if it's a North Harbour game, if it's going to be, it's going to be Eden Park game.
Eden Park, yeah.
I would like to think that Auckland Rugby would go and drop the prices for the ticket to get a full house,
But see, that's the thing. They'll probably get a lot of South Aucklanders there, like supporting Moana.
Well,
especially now when Moana's been winning.
Yeah, so if they drop it, and then they won't have any supporters. So that's going to be the interesting one. So, I'm actually looking forward to the game. To be honest, I'm looking forward to it because, just out of interest, I want to see Moana, I want to see Moana. To see them back up what they did against the Crusaders, like if they do that, then they're a real. I shouldn't say it, but like they're already a threat. They are already a threat to the competition. Like if they win this game, it just elevates them up a bit more, and it puts them in the spotlight. Not that they're not in the spotlight, but it just puts them up another level because of teams are going to go, oh shit, well we're not going to be resting you guys this weekend, we're going to.
That's right.
So they should be thinking like that, like
that's right.
Auckland should be putting out their best, who they think their best 15 is, because like the Moana boys will be coming out for, it'll be war for some of those boys, like it's going to be a war of attrition just because. There's going to be some sore bodies, bro. That's all I'm going to say. Hey, man, there's going to be some sore bodies in that game, and those guys are going to, and who can last and be patient, it'll win the game.
I've no doubts Vin Cotter will put his full-strength team on there to face Moana. He won't make the mistake Rob Penny did, I think.
No.
And hopefully, the key for the Blues, I reckon, is the health of Bowden Barrett if he will come back that day, because I think a lot of the guys who are injured are coming back next week against the Hurricanes. I think Zan Sullivan's okay, so he can come back, but they need someone to counter Pellegrini. So they need to have a good kicking game against Moana. Their forward game has to be good. How when we always review these Moana games, the one thing that we always talk about is how Moana is always dangerous close to the opposition line. Whenever they're in the opposition's 22, their pick and goes are devastating. They can punch through that hole and score a try, and you saw that with Adi Sevilla scoring 2 tries the same way. But they've been doing that all year, eh?
No, definitely, because that's one of the things and it was just also their clean-outs in the rucks. Like, bro, they were, like I said earlier, man, like when they were cleaning up, like they cleaned out, bro. Like the shot, some of the shots that was being given in those rucks and cleaning out, man. Like, oh, you can feel it, you know. And I was just, oh shit, man, I got sore shoulders just looking at those guys cleaning out, bro. You know.
I know. Just Marshall, he mentioned that too in his commentary. He was saying, man, the one thing about Moana, the cleanouts, they were just killing the Crusaders, man.
Yeah, they were honestly, they were ruthless, you know, and that's the same mentality that they're gonna, bring for the rest of the season, because, you know, I think that was that set the standard for Moana, you know, because every other game has been like, you know, been half and half. Like they play well in the first 40 and then they'll play shit in the second, or play shit in the first and they'll be really good in the second half. And, you know, they were always chasing the game. Whereas this time round, and I think, you know, when you mentioned it, was about how they took the 3 points when on offer. That's what smart teams do. Like, if you're leading, why do you need to go to the sideline for? Just pile on the points. Let the other team go to the sideline. You know, and that's just, again, just smarts. The other guy that I was really, really happy with, and he was the Palangi guy that played in the locks.
Yeah.
Oh, man, like and you know, not Savage, but the other guy, Craig, did 80 minutes, man. Like 80 minutes, just tackling, getting up, and those are the types of players you want in your team, bro. You know, those are the types of players that make a team, because they don't care about the fancy stuff or who scores the try. You know, they get in line, tackle, get back up, tackle. You know, it's that second effort that they do, bro.
Alan Craig, so gonna stat. So he played the full 80 minutes. He went from 13 or 14 tackles. So yeah, man, just missed one tackle out of and made 13.
So out of 14, he made 13.
Yeah.
You know, look, and that's just and that's hard to do in a sport that you're getting smacked around all the time. How many tackles? Like his stats on the tackling. Oh, so now that was 13. What about his run meters?
Only four.
Yeah.
Just got 4. For 8 runs. So.
How about his lineouts and stuff?
Doesn't say. 0 it says. Did he catch any lineouts? It doesn't say here.
Yeah. No, he did. He did his. He did his core rolls, lineouts. He lifted. He got the ball. He tackled. He took the ball up. But it wasn't just him. You know, like there were other guys in the same that were running the ball. You know, and it was just back and forth. But then you go and watch the Reds in the Force game.
Yeah.
Silly. Yeah, it was just
hard watch.
Go to sleep, man. After that, but yeah, no, I'm not looking forward to the Force. The Moana and to the Moana and Blues game.
Yeah, Battle of the Bridge. Haven't had this much anticipation for Moana versus Blues game in a while. The stakes are higher this time.
Well, I'd like to see them. I want to see them. You know, like again, like they've got the Waratahs this week, so I'd really like to see them. See how they go, and I want them to put the Waratahs away. To be honest, I think they're good enough to do it. I'm going to go hopefully try and watch the Highlanders play the Force this week.
Oh, over there.
Yeah,
over there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'll try and see if I can grab a picture with my favourite player, Fabian Holland.
Nice.
I'll be looking forward to those games.
Nice. Yeah, man.
Sicky, man.
That's us. Is there anything else you want to...
No, that's it.
Man. It's been a good week of round since there was 3 buys, so you didn't get you didn't get no Chiefs play, you don't get any Blues, but I think Moana Pacifica made up for the lack of games with that one game. Yeah. So yeah, awesome to talk about it. Awesome to have you on, bro. Yeah, man. Thanks for coming on. We'll do this again next week.
Sweet.
All right, man.
Bye.